Hello everyone, thanks for watching. Today we're going to talk about just Pokemon cards and how they all have different values, and things that we can do in regards to when it comes to purchasing or selling. Alright, so let's get to it. First off, let's talk about supply and demand. Just like everything else out there, Pokemon is a market and it is prone to fluctuations and all that. It's a very supply-demand market. So therefore, more rare cards are normally worth more. Things that people want a lot more are normally more valuable. So pretty much with supply and demand, if you ever have more supply than you have a demand, prices are going to go down. And if you have less of supply and more of a demand, prices are going to go up. So one of the ways that you can tell how valuable a rare card is by the rarity system. All cards have a rarity, unless they're like promo or stuff like that. But the rarities are normally defined by either a circle, a diamond, a star, or multiple stars, and the colors can affect the rarity. Your commons are going to be your lowest form of rarity. They're the lowest valuable cards. They normally tend to be under $1. They can be at different prices and it ranges. So for rarities, common, uncommon, and rare, you normally also have what you call is reverse holo. Commons aren't that great as far as value goes, but some of them can be expensive, as with everything. Take for example a Pikachu that's a common from a legendary collection would only go for about like $1, $2 maybe. But then you change it over to reverse holo and get it into PSA grade 10, you might be looking at a card that's potentially worth $2,000. After that is your uncommons. Your uncommons, as far as value goes, isn't much bigger than your commons. They're still normally generally under $1 cards. So there's not really a lot of difference between common and uncommon. Then after your uncommons come your rares. This is where it can actually differentiate a lot depending on the set. As far as the newer sets, something more modern, your rares aren't really that expensive. You're still looking at cards that are $1 or so. However, once you get into your rares, you do start having some cards that are holos. They look a little bit shiny on the little picture on the inside. Your reverse holos is pretty much shiny, but the complete outside of the card. However, once you start talking about way older sets, and if we're talking about like the very first sets, your rares is what's gonna be your highest cards. You're talking about your Charizard holo rare. You're looking, if you have a PSA 10, you're looking about $250,000. So depending on the set and all that, it can vary on your rares how much value they have. After your rare comes the double rare, your ultra rare, special illustration rare, secret rares. It's basically all those cards that are all that extra rare plus something more. And those mainly pertain to newer sets. Those are going to be like all the ones that have all the nice little beautiful illustrations, or the like character in just one color, or it's going to be like your very rare gold cards. But in newer sets, those are your chase cards. That's what you're looking for. That's what you wanna get. That's where all the value cards are. Right now, as I'm making this video, they just recently released Prismatic. Prismatics, the pull rates are horrible. That's why the demand of some of the really good cards, the special illustrator rares, Umbreon for example, is going about $1,500, and this is for just something that has just been barely released. So I mean, I think the values on those are sometimes kind of crazy, but that's how it works. And you're gonna be able to tell all your special extra rares apart by the stars. Normally, when you have Special Illustrator and all those type of rares, you're gonna be looking at 2 or 3 stars, potentially in like black, silver, or gold, or sometimes it might come in like a gold 1 star. Once again, it all depends on the set. And if you're also looking for secret rares, you can normally find those by seeing how much a set is. So let's say, for example, a set is comprised of 100 cards, right? Well, your secret rare would be card number 108. So it's card number 108 out of 100. That's what one of your secret cards would be. Also, another card that does exist is the promo card. Those are just like promotional offers. Sometimes you can get them in like extra box sets, so have like the card in the front of it, or sometimes if you attend certain events, they'll offer them out. You know, for like the first Pokemon movie, I believe they offered some cards. Certain museums will offer other cards. Best Buy, GameStop, 7-Eleven, you know, it all differs. And honestly, the value on those really differs on the supply and demand. Some cards can go for as little as $1, and some are very high up there. It just differs on how many of those are printed and how many people are looking for them. Alright, now let's talk about sets. So sets are pretty much a collection of cards that Pokemon released at a certain time, and you'll have a lot more sets throughout the year. They'll release them every couple of months or so. Sometimes they'll release certain sets 2 per month. But a set is pretty much going to tell you how valuable a card is. Normally the older sets are worth more. Newer sets, I mean, they're kind of getting there too. And of course, different sets offer different cards. You know, for example, the Exposition set, they released a collection where it's a bunch of e-readers. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but there used to be a little like credit card reader when the Game Boy was coming out. So what you would do is you would take your Game Boy, connect the e-reader to the Game Boy, and then slide those Pokemon cards. A lot of those cards, since they went through a lot of e-readers, ended up getting a lot of damage, and that's why supply on those is very low. And those normally tend to hold a lot more value than other regular sets. And you also have other sets like the Legendary Collection. Legendary Collection was one of the first collection. Was the first collection that did the Reverse Holo. And because it was the first collection that did the Reverse Holo, they didn't do it very well. And that's why it's so hard to get a PSA 10. And those cards tend to hold a lot more value when it comes to Reverse Holos. A lot of your comments, you're looking at double digits, sometimes triple digits. You know, Gengar from those sets, Reverse Holo, you're potentially looking at a raw card, not even in like near mint condition, around $1,000. So those are very good art pieces, and everyone wants them. So as far as sets work, generally your older sets are going to be more valuable than your newer sets. That tends to be the case for the most part, but sometimes there can be exceptions. Like Prismatic, that new set itself is, to have a complete collection is quite a lot, just simply because of the fact that you have your regular master set, you have a Reverse Holo set, you have a Reverse Holo Pokemon set, you have a Reverse Holo Master Ball set. So in just that set, you have like 4 different collections of cards. So that one can be kind of pricey. So another thing I do want to talk about is languages. Pokemon prints all over the world. You know, The main ones that everyone is after and the most valuable ones are English and Japanese. But there's all sorts of types of them as far as languages goes. There can be price variations depending on the language and certain set and card variations. You know, here's an example of these two Mewtwo's. You know, the Mewtwo from the English version is gonna be a promo, but you can also take the same Mewtwo, go look for it in the Japanese version, and that's gonna be part of the set. You know, right now, currently while I'm recording this video, that English Mewtwo, which is a promo, is currently at $15. The Mewtwo, which is Japanese, is currently going on for around 10, I believe. So there is price variations, set variations, you know, different languages, different supply and demand. And you can't forget about trainer cards. You know, some of those are more valuable than others. You know, if you have like Schoolboy or something like that, it's not going to be as expensive as if you have Ash Ketchum or Misty in one of those cards. Alright, now the important part is Pokemon themselves. Certain Pokemon are going to be more valuable than others. For example, you know, your Pikachu, your Charizard is going to hold its value way better than your Rattata, Raticate, you know, your Weezing, your Caterpie, your Kakuna, all those things. So always try to look out for your base or your starters. Your starters are pretty much your 3 generational Pokemon. Every generation comes out with 3 base Pokemon. You know, at the beginning of a game or all that, you have 3 Pokemon to choose from. Normally tends to be like 3 fighting styles that complement or don't complement each other. For I think like the first Pokemon game, the 3 elements you had was fire, water, and grass. You know, so it made a nice little interesting trio. But yes, as far as value goes, you always want to look for starters. You want to look for the evolutions of your starters. You know, for example, Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise, Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur. Those are going to hold value. You also want to look out for your legendaries, your god cards. You know, this would include Rayquaza or Mewtwo, Mew, Celebi, Lugia, Reshiram. You know, all your legendaries. You know, the type of Pokemon that is on that card is really gonna help its value. Alright, now let's talk about grading Pokemon. Your first 3 graders that normally everyone tends to like is going to be PSA, CGC, and Beckett, and not necessarily in that order. As far as what their use is for, PSA, normally everyone uses PSA for selling. That's the one that catches everyone's eyes and everyone likes to use PSA. It's one of the most used ones. CGC is a little bit more of collectors, I think. Personally, I don't care too much for CGC, but then after that comes Beckett. The cool thing about Beckett is they have what's called a black label. To get a black label graded card is extremely hard, and therefore those are your perfect cards. You know, almost close to impossible to get them. If you get a black label Beckett, it's sometimes quadruple or sextuple what a PSA 10 graded card is going to be, especially depending on the supply and demand on those cards. Alright, so once you have a general knowledge of that, the best thing to do is use actual websites to get a little comparison of where the value of cards are. Everyone normally tends to go to TCG Player first. On TCG Player, you're gonna have the option of looking at at these charts that look like stocks, you're going to see the value of them over the last few years, months, whatever you want. You can also have the chance and opportunity of purchase certain cards if they're available, and it'll show you what condition they are in and all that. Yeah, I would suggest going to TCG Player if you're ever curious about what the market value is on that. However, be careful. There is market manipulation strategies that people tend to use to raise or lower the value of certain cards. For example, if sometimes people want to up the value of a certain card, what they do is they go in, create a store, set the value an outrageous amount, purchase it a couple of times. They only pay interest on that because they are their own vendor, so they're paying themselves. They only pay taxes on that and a few fees, but because of that, they manage to put the price up. So when you do look at pricings at cards, also look at some of the few sells if you're getting into the range of higher priced cards. Also, another way to do it is the opposite way. People will underprice cards way lower, go in and buy a lot just to bring down the value of those cards, so then later on they can go purchase those cards, come back later and sell them for a higher profit. So market manipulation in Pokemon is very real, and be very wary. That's why I gave you some of these strategies, so you can be a little bit aware of what you want to sell and what you want to purchase. eBay is also another great source to purchase cards, and is also a great way to check prices on them as well, to use as a second resource to complement it with TCG Player. Now for eBay, what you want to do is you want to go look up whatever card you're looking for. Once you do that, you go see the last comp sold. The last comp sold will show you what kind of prices that card was recently sold for in auctions and buy it as is. And so that way you have a general idea of what you're looking at. Now, as far as graded cards go, the place that I like to go to and search for is price charting. Price charting is very good at showing you prices for different grades of different cards. It'll show you the price of an ungraded card, show you the price of like a 7, 8, 9, and a 10. And that's where you can kind of get your information from. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I know it's not the best video, but I just wanted to get a little bit of general information out there just so people can use it and use it to their benefit, especially with all the things that are going around as far as Pokemon goes. Alright, so before I release you guys into the wild, I just wanted to take time out and say, don't be a scalper. Please. It just ruins the hobby. It ruins it as an investment as well. There's a lot of little kids, and if we have scalpers buying all the product, always buying and increasing prices, all the little kids will never have anything to play with or acquire. And in that sense, you're eliminating future customers, future investors, people that want to get involved with it but don't have the means, because us as Pokemon fanatics or all that have ruined it for them. So please, if you ever go to the store and you see a shelf full of Pokemon, please just take one. You come back the next time at the store and you see it full again, take another one, and progressively take one. There's no need for fights or all that kind of stuff. It just looks bad for the hobby, and we're here to make and grow a community. It's best to do it as one and not divided. Alright, well, everyone, thanks again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. If there's any questions you guys have, or if there's anything you want to know, or you need help with anything, please feel free to reach out on my Facebook, YouTube, wherever it may be.